Have you ever been listening to a great song, and when it gets to a certain part, chills come over your body, or you get goosebumps on your arms? It's called frisson, or as some people like to refer to it, skin orgasms. Or maybe you've been in a situation where you're getting ready for a big game or interview, and the butterflies in your stomach turn to nervousness, your anxiousness turns to anxiety, but then you turn on that go-to song that always gets you turned up. Yeah, now you're ready. The power of music. Let's dive into our love affair with music, and afterward, join me for a deep conversation with a friend of mine, specifically about hip-hop, its growth through the years, as well as the effect lyrics have on the listener. Musicophilia, our burning desire to produce or listen to music. Studies of musicians' brains show stark contrast between musicians and non-musicians. Research shows that musicians' brains are noticeably different from those of non-musicians. Using brain imaging, scientists have made comparisons of sizes of various parts of the brain in musicians and non-musicians. These differences are so noticeable that experienced anatomists can instantly recognize the brain of a professional musician, whereas they would find it hard to identify the brain of a writer, a visual artist, or a mathematician, for example. Studies of musicians' brains show that they have better neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to change throughout life, better cognitive ability, for example, working memory, attention, or inhibition, better aging of the brain over time. They also been shown to have lower risk of dementia and the ability to deal with stress better. Well, you might be saying to yourself, I don't have a musician's brain. On the contrary, research suggests that musicians are in fact not born with noticeable differences in brain structure, but acquire them through training. The effects of early study in particular are huge. The neurological changes observed in musicians' brains are strongly correlated with the age at which they begin training, as well as the intensity of their rehearsal and practice. One study showed that just a single year of violin training resulted in pronounced changes in children's brain. But in fact, our brains respond rapidly to musical training at any age. A study has shown that the 5-finger piano exercise can start changing the brain in a matter of minutes. So have you ever been in the gym or out on a run and your playlist is going and it hits that one song that gives you that extra burst of energy to finish that last stretch of the road or pump out that last rep? Well, that jolt of energy has been used in the medical field as well. The involuntary tick and jerking motion experienced by some individuals with Tourette syndrome can sometimes be eased with the improvised rhythm of jazz or rock music. Folks with Parkinson's disease who are known to suffer movement issues and muscle rigidity have reported to show improvements with smooth rhythmic music. Music therapy has shown benefits to people with aphasia, which is the loss of ability to speak, and also those with dementia, which many of our elders suffer. For example, a dementia patient, Woody, who couldn't remember his past memories of his life, could still recall and sing almost every song he ever sung. And when he sang, you could see that it brought him joy. So I was listening to this song the other day from an artist by the name of Michael Kiwanuka. And the name of the song is You Ain't the Problem. And I was listening to the song. I listened to it once. And it was just so groovy I had to put it on repeat. So I let it play again. And I let it play again. And I let it play again. Unbeknownst to me, it helped the time fly by. Yeah, an entire 4 hours. I had that song on repeat for 4 straight hours. I was so moved by the song that I went into my phone and texted every single friend or family member who I thought would appreciate it. Now, why did I do that? Well, as it turns out, music can almost act as a mood-regulating drug, or at least have the same effect as mood-regulating drugs, thus giving us the feeling to want to put them on repeat. It makes us feel better about ourselves. It makes us feel better about the environment that we're in. And overall, It can help pass time and provide a positive distraction. Unfortunately, not everybody enjoys music like you or I do. Some people have amusia. Those are people who are indifferent or don't care too much for music and lack musical abilities. One example of amusia is tone deafness, which exists in 5% of people. Another is rhythm deafness, meaning a person doesn't have the ability to follow musical rhythms. In fact, one famous person for this is revolutionary Che Guevara. Some severe cases of amusia leave people unable to process the sound of music at all. They hear music as annoying sounds, such as screeching and crashing noises. Another disorder is called musicogenic epilepsy. This is where some music can actually trigger seizures. The music that triggers these kinds of seizures vary from patient to patient. Some sufferers relate that their seizures are provoked only by certain instruments, while others are sensitive to certain notes, melodies, or songs. So how does music affect brain function? Neuroscience has allowed us to get a better understanding of our brain activity when listening to music. Let's look at some areas of the brain and see music's effect on them. The nucleus accumbens, amygdala, and the hippocampus. The nucleus accumbens. This part of the brain seeks pleasure and reward and plays a big role in addiction as it releases the neurotransmitter dopamine. How does music affect this area of the brain? Scientists have found that the pleasurable experience of listening to music releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter in the brain important for tangible pleasures associated with rewards such as food, drugs, and sex. The amygdala. What does this region of the brain control? It processes and triggers emotions. How does music affect that part of the brain? Music can control your fear, make you ready to fight, and increase pleasure. When you feel shivers go down your spine, the amygdala is activated. In the hippocampus. This part of the brain produces and retrieves memories, regulates emotional responses, and helps us navigate. It's considered the central processing unit of the brain. It's one of the first regions of the brain that is affected by Alzheimer's disease, leading to confusion and memory loss. How does music affect this area of the brain? Music may increase neurogenesis in the hippocampus, allowing productions of new neurons and improved memory. All in all, music can change your ability to perceive time, tap into primal fear, reduce seizures, make you a better communicator, make you stronger, boost your immune system, assist in repairing brain damage, make you smarter, and evoke memories. Music, to me, is everything. It was the first thing that I fell in love with. Before I knew what love was in regards to a child loving his parents or siblings, I knew before then the definition of love when it came to my relationship to music. It always affected me differently. And no genre of music has been more precious to me than hip hop / rap, if we being, technical about it. But when I was first introduced to hip hop and first introduced to rap music, my whole life changed. The way I thought about myself in society changed. The way I felt like I fit into culture changed. Is all I wanted to do. I became obsessed with it. And I became a hip hop head by definition. And when you become a hip hop head, you meet other hip hop heads. You in the inner circle. And there's only a few people I defer to when it comes to hip hop knowledge, rap knowledge. Their views and thoughts on it really matter to me. So we often, throw ideas off each other, talk about ideology, talk about concepts, talk about the state of the game. and just being very, you know, retrospective and introspective when it comes to hip hop culture in general. And one of them gentlemen I'm glad to have on the show now. He is the host of the Rhythm and the Rebel Show, a beautiful podcast in his own right. And more importantly, he is my friend. So right now, I'll welcome on to Mind on Matters for an in-depth conversation about hip hop and the effect lyrics and rap have on a listener. I welcome on my good friend, Jaz Wonder. And so for this interview, we're going to adopt the Rhythm and the Rebel style as well. So we're going to keep the interview raw, uncut, unfiltered, not overly edited. So we're just going to be raw, uncut conversation with me and my man Jaz. So first off, before we even get into the whole interview portion, I got to give you your flowers first, sir. Because at a particular point in my life, your boy was really struggling with his mental health. You know what I mean? We was working together. We was co-workers. I lost my job due to unforeseen circumstances. We'll just leave it at that. And I was in the house. I ain't had nothing to do. I'm sitting there talking to myself, talking to the walls, feeling sorry for myself. I really got to a down place, man. I really think I was like feeling very, very depressed. And then I get the call from this gentleman. Say, yo, won't you come through and help us out and lend some of your knowledge or your vibe to this podcast that we doing, the Rhythm and the Rebel Show. And I said, all right, cool, because everybody that's involved, I mess with. So I said, let's do it. And then lo and behold, it turned into like a passion project, right? Am I right or no?
Yeah. You're right. And mind you, this is when podcasts wasn't even really popping. People didn't even understand what podcasts were.
Right.
Remember?
So the funny thing, I remember telling you, I was like, yo, Jaz, this podcast thing ain't gonna pop, bro. Like this podcast thing gonna come, it's gonna go. It ain't gonna be something that's gonna be around for a while, man. We need to get on the radio. And you was like, nah, this podcast thing is gonna take off. And look who was right, look who was wrong, yo. I did not see this. I did not see it. But yeah, you gave me an outlet. You gave me something to do. You gave me something to look forward to, even if it was a day or two just to get out the house or whatever like that. But it got me out of my funk. And for that, man, I thank you. Like I feel like I'm forever indebted to you for that.
Nah, man, it ain't that, man. It's all love, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I chose you because, I was like, you know how to articulate yourself. And, like you, even though me and you, I think, have the same end goal of what we want, I always notice that you always think of it out of my box. Like, like I think one way, you think another way. Even though we have the same goal, you just like, well, nah, you didn't think of it this way? And I was just like, yeah, man, Justin's a little bit different from a different angle. So I was like, I definitely need, and plus you know how to articulate yourself. And that was one of the key things. So I was like, I was just like, yeah, man, I definitely need just on the ship.
So, and I appreciate that call. So this episode I'm doing this week on Mind on Matters was around how music affects the brain, how it affects us neurologically, our psyches and things of that nature. But you a hip hop head, I'm a hip hop head. And out of all genres of music, that's the one that we attach ourselves to and that we say that we are in love with that culture. That's fact, right? So
yeah, that's my question.
So being that hip hop culture and rap, which is a part of hip hop, has gone through such transitions over the years, being that you got a couple of years on me, you was kind of able to see it more than I was, especially like from that late 80s, early 90s to the mid 90s. I was like a real youngin'. I really couldn't get the, how things changed from 89, 90, 91 to it did to 95. But you would be able to speak on it better than I did. But let's start at the beginning. When did you get introduced to hip hop culture, get introduced to rap, and when did you fall in love with it? Do you remember a moment?
Yeah. I mean, okay. I'm aging myself. I mean, basically.
So why?
I'm basically the same age as hip hop.
Okay.
I'm basically the same age as hip hop. So yeah, like do I remember it? Yeah, I mean the first time, and I have to, because of the ages of who's listening to this, like the first time I ever heard, I mean, I heard like Planet Rock by Africa Bambaataa. I heard like the first time I ever was like, what is going on? I heard Super Rhymes by Super Rhymes. And it was basically like a storytelling joint about Lois Lane and all other crazy stuff, you know, like, and I was just like, as soon as I heard it, I just was like, what the hell is this? And I need to know more about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was automatically intrigued. I was pulled in from the door. You know what I'm saying? This is 80 something, like low 80s. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, yo, I was like, I've never heard nothing like this before. I think I was visiting my cousins in Queens. And I was like, I don't understand. Yo, this is crazy. So, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, I knew hip hop existed, but I just didn't know it can do that to me. And then the next time, that same feeling happened again is when I heard Run DMC Suck at MCs. When I from the very beginning, I heard the beat. I heard DJ Run, at the time his name was DJ Run, start rapping. I was like, yo, I had that same feeling. So it was Suck at MC, Super Rhymes, and then Suck at MCs. And that's what I was like, I'm all in. You know what I mean? Like it just gave, I couldn't even describe what I felt because I was just like, I don't know what the reference point is. You know what I'm saying? And at that time, I was probably like 10, 11 years old. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I was, it just basically sucker punched me, and I was just like, yo, this is crazy. And then I was all in because then I started figuring out, like, you know, like I'm an artistic person, a visual person. So the graffiti thing, even though I didn't fully understand like the culture of graffiti, but I always liked the visual aspect of graffiti. And then, you know, I was slowly learning that, you know, all that was attached to, like what you said at the beginning, the hip hop culture, all those things are part of hip hop culture. Specifically, we're talking about rap. So at that moment is when I was just like, yo, I'm all in. I need to, anything I can hear, I want to hear. And at that time, like, because you're probably going to lean in this direction anyway. At that time, like, but having access to hip hop wasn't easy. Like, hip hop was not on the radio. Like how people, like, there was no Hot 97. There was no channel or station dedicated to hip hop.
It was really like in the streets for the most part.
Yeah. And then, like, if you did kind of hear it, was just like, once it did start getting played on the radio, like stuff like Planet Rock, which had like a disco feel, or Sugar Hill Gang. That stuff got played on the radio because it had a disco feel. So, you know what I'm saying? It was easier. It was an easier transition for the radio to be like, oh, we played disco. And, you know, they basically looped a disco song. So Planet Rock kind of had like a techno, Euro style background. And then the Sugar Hill Gang stuff had like a disco background. So that those kind of songs were getting played on the radio. Rarely, but they were getting played. Then when it started coming to like the Super Rhymes and the Houdinis and the Run DMCs and Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 and stuff like that, like that was dedicated to like Fridays and Saturday nights, 1 hour, 2 hours on the weekend, stuff like that. So that was a time when I was just like, yeah, and I was like a fiend. I would take tapes, and because it was past my security. My parents were strict. I had to like sneak and try to record as much as I can. And then, for real, I had to record stuff, commercials and everything. Yeah, and I would record it, and then the next morning, it was kind of like the next morning I would have another tape, and I would edit the first tape to the second tape, edit all the commercials out, and then basically see what gems I got. It was basically like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, let's see what I recorded, and you know, like it was like that, like, and that's, I think I'm saying that and emphasizing that, like, you know, I'm not blaming the next generation because you have technology and stuff like that, or people who had access to Hot 97 or whatever hip hop station, whatever city you live in, you had access to stations that had hip hop 24/7 or at least half the day or whatever. Like, but that's how rare it was for you to find. You had kids. We live in Jersey, so we had access to 98.7 Kiss FM and WBLS. So you had Red Alert and you had Mr. Magic on the weekends. So I had to pick and choose which one I wanted to find out and record. Yeah, so that's how rare it was at that time.
All right, so break
And
this
that's
down
like
to me.
83, 84.
So break this down to me. So being that hip hop was kind of birthed out of the disco scene, and it kind of gravitated obviously to the streets or whatever like that. In its early stages, it felt more like, you know, rocking a party. You know what I mean? That's where the, you know, birthing the MCs, everybody break dancing, da 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 da. And then it kind of transitioned into more of the lyrical content of the MC was more talking about trying to, I guess, get people, the listeners, up to a higher consciousness, like talking about the environment that we live in, and, you know, not using drugs and things of that nature, which is a far cry from where we at now. As you saw it transition from what it was, and it started to turn into something else, let's say like maybe like the early to mid 90s, you start getting more of the gangster rap, gangster lyrics coming in, like Schoolie D, NWA, Ice-T, things of that nature. Did it feel like a natural transition, or did it kind of feel like jarring, like, damn, like, what the hell? No. Where are we going?
No. Here's the thing. That's a good question, actually. And the reason why it wasn't jarring, it actually felt natural. But here's the reason why, because I got to put it in context the best way I can. The reason why it was natural was because back then, and I'm not saying that now, not now that it doesn't exist. It's just, I think it's just harder to find. But back then, especially, like, okay, so let's break it down. How you were able to have access to music. So you're talking about like the 80s. Okay, so you either had the radio, and then the most ways you were able to hear stuff was through tape. You know what I'm saying? So people was either letting dub stuff, or people would hand you stuff. So you either had to go to a party, you had the radio, or you had tapes. So people was like, oh, I got, you know, somebody record something from whatever, or you had somebody dub shit, because everybody wasn't buying records like that. Most people, and this was a thing, people were catering to quote unquote the masses, aka white people, because it was like white people were the ones that buy these records, which I never really believed, because black people mostly dub, which is true. But back to your question, it felt natural because hip hop was more diverse. So for all the, you know what I mean, like, yeah, there was the NWAs and the Ice-T's and the Schoolie D's, and, you know what I'm saying, Coogee Raps and all the other stuff. But you also had, it was diverse. So, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like, and I openly admit, when NWA first came out, I wasn't, you know what I mean, I was so used to more lyrical content, and I personally was leaning towards, and I only can speak for me, I was leaning towards, you know what I mean, like the more positive and party going type hip hop. But the thing was,
KRS-One, De La Soul, stuff like that.
But the thing about it is, like, even though you just mentioned in those two, it was diverse. We had the option of, they had Heavy D out at the same time as LL Cool J out at the same time, Tribe Called Quest, Big Daddy Kane, BDP/KRS-One. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was a diversity. And I mean, and also there was also whack MCs that fell in between, or one hit wonders that fell in between. So when that type of music, like the NWAs and the Ice-T's and the PSKs and Schoolie D's came out, you know what I'm saying? You had a full palette of, like, okay, like, I like this one, these two NWA songs, but I also like the De La Soul song. So it was kind of like you were getting a full diet of music. It wasn't just like, it wasn't like it was just one genre or one style of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, there's happy music, there's nonsensical music of hip hop. There was just like party going music, and then you also had like super lyrical, like, yo, I gotta listen to the rewind to hear what he's trying to say. And then you also had the NWAs, which technically was like, you know, like talking about, you know, police brutality and what's going on in the hood, and basically like social commentary. So you had choices. So it wasn't kind of like a takeover. Now, there was a takeover when it came to like video, because like when the NWA thing came, they weren't getting radio play, but they were getting video play. Like, you know what I'm saying? So you kind of had like the you kind of had the video music box, and then you had MTV who kind of played stuff, and everybody had their own local, wherever you're from, had that local video access. So, you know what I'm saying? So it kind of felt natural because it was kind of like we had a natural variety of music. So, you know what I'm saying? Because there was always that debate of like, well, I don't listen to that ignorant stuff. I only listen to you know, the 5% stuff, or X-Clan, or Public Enemy, or KRS-One. Well, I just like, you know, most of the people I know knew, like, you know, radio strict. That was just basically radio ready accessibility music, like the Heavy D's, like, you know what I'm saying, like, or the Big Daddy Kane songs that he made specifically like more radio accessible. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like
LL.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, LL put out diverse albums, but you know what I'm saying? Like, he always made a song that was made for the radio and made for the video and stuff like that. And those people was like, I only listen to that. So yeah, if he was on you might be considered like, you know, in a bubble if you listen to like strictly hip gangster, quote unquote, I'm saying that in quotes, gangster hip hop. So no, it felt natural. It wasn't kind of like, oh man, this is a bad thing. Necessarily, because at the beginning I was kind of like, yeah, what is this NWA shit? All I heard was nigga. I was sounding like an old man at like 19 years old. I was like, I didn't know how to hear it. I didn't know how to listen to it. All I heard was nigga, bitch. I was like, God damn, what the hell?
Yeah.
It took
vulgar.
Yeah, it took me a couple of months, and me going to college and going into I was in a different state where the culture was a little bit different, and they leaned towards, you know, it made me open my mind and diverse. Like, people listen to different stuff, and it took me a minute for them to listen to it. And I was like, and then I finally knew how to hear it, and I was like, oh, you know what? I get it. I mean, it wasn't my favorite thing, but I was like, I'm starting to get it. And the more I heard it, the more I learned how to hear it and listen to it, and at least appreciate it.
So let me ask this question, because I went a good part of my early childhood as far as growing up in my father's house, not being able to listen to rap music.
Okay.
So it was strictly like, you only can listen to oldies, and that's pretty much it, or whatever comes on the radio, whatever like that, right? So when I first started getting introduced to rap, which is kind of like in the mid 90s, 95 or 94, 95 or something like that.
And how old were you at the time?
I could kind of, why you want my date of birth?
No. I mean, around. It ain't gotta be exact. I'm just saying, like, was you like in your group?
Oh no, I was probably like 9, 10.
Oh,
9 or 10 years old.
Okay, all right. So I'm saying, like, all right.
9 or 10 years old.
Why your father was like, I get it.
But you know, now I'm going to school, you know, elementary school and stuff like that. You start hearing kids saying rhymes and stuff like that, and you kind of like, damn, that sounds dope. Da 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 da. Like, is that you? It's like, nah, that's I don't know, that's Wu-Tang Clan or something like that, or that's whoever it might be at the time. And it's like, that's fresh. And then, you know, I kind of did like you did to a certain degree, where, you know, I would listen to the tapes on the side, or I borrowed my man cassette tape player, and I would like actually write the lyrics down in a notebook. And then, since I can't listen to it until the house, I would go back to the crib and just read the rhymes instead of listening to it or whatever like that. But you could see then the impact that rap was having on the culture, like people who listened to it. Like, it changed the whole lingo, how people dressed. I mean, how we talk to each other, things of that nature. And you could see it then. Do you feel like when you was listening to it in its infancy, that it had the same effect on the culture of people that listen to it? How they dress, how they talk.
Yeah, because hip hop is a culture. So, you know what I'm saying? With a culture, you have your own language, you have your own code, you have your own, you know what I'm saying, the way you dress, all that part of it, you know what I'm saying? And hip hop, even though people go back and forth, hip hop is a subculture. So, you know what I'm saying? So, of course, you're gonna have, you know, hip hop has this way of, like, you wear a hat, but you wear a hat a certain way, whether it's backwards, to the side. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have a permanent crease in your pants. I didn't ever really do that. That was never really my thing. But, you know, like, we had our own little style, and it also depended on what part of the country you were. But in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, you know what I'm saying, we all had our own style. So, of course, yeah, it was a definite influence on how we spoke, like you said, how we dressed, you know, how we did everything. You know what I'm saying? And the influence started permeating into regular culture, into the major culture.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you go.
So speaking.
Go ahead.
Speaking of that though, so at some point in time, once rap started bubbling and hip hop culture started bubbling a lot, somebody had to make money off this damn thing, right? So you start getting this wave of these record labels just coming in, just snatching up artists, signing them to these terrible record deals and all this other good stuff like that. And you probably know more about the early record labels that had the majority of the influence outside of, early Def Jam and things of that nature. But as far as like the record labels impact on hip hop, it kind of seems to me, just looking back as trying to read up on my hip hop history, that it kind of turned like rap and hip hop culture into like a commodity. It was almost like they took it, they packaged it, and then only took like certain people and got certain content, and it was like, you know what, we're gonna romanticize this, and we're gonna sensationalize that. This sells. Let's put it out there because people are gonna eat this shit up. Did it feel that way to you, or am I tripping?
No. It definitely was that. But those, I think, the record labels that did do that, and they can argue back and forth whether they did that or not, but they'll be lying. Yeah, well, the bigger ones, like the bigger, because at the end of the day, it's a business. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have hip hop culture, you have rapping, and then you have the business, the music business, and you know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, they definitely commoditized. They did a commodity, packaged it, and then hip hop self-identified as rebel music. It was like you had punk music and you had hip hop music, was both self-identified by both subcultures as rebel music. And I think that they looked at it as rebel in the negative way. So what I'm saying, so they made it a commodity by like you said, like definitely picking certain, like what can them being an outsider and them being different, how could we can make them that, but also use that as a selling point. Yeah. So then it started, what I'm saying, but they always take they were always taking the negative, well, they looked at everything we did as negative anyway, but what I'm saying, but the stuff that truly was the stuff that could be negative, impactful,
like profit off the shock value.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah, exactly. But it was, I think they emphasized the negative, and then they would tell us like, well, that's what y'all want. And I always used to argue like, that's not necessarily what you want. If you're gonna only make the menu negative food mostly, you know what I'm saying? And plus, I don't want to. I mean, well, you talking about stuff like that. Like, if you're gonna do it, we're gonna talk about vibrations and high vibrations and low vibrations. Like, dealing with the negative stuff is a lower vibration. Like, it's easier for people to gravitate to, the negative / lower vibration stuff. So, what I'm saying, it's easier for that. Whether you wanna like it or not, it's just easy. It's just easier to vibe to that. It's an easier sell because anything other than that sounds, they'll label it as preachy. Even if it's just positive, like, I'm just happy to be here type stuff. It's like, yeah, why he's so happy?
Yeah, right.
Because when you create the narrative of, well, everybody who's a rapper came from some hard struggle. Every black person came from this hard struggle, which wasn't even true.
True,
but
right,
you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, his story isn't legitimate unless he tells me he had to have this coming up. Like, he had to make it through this hard struggle story. Then the best coming through the struggle story is, I had one parent, I had no parents, I was raised by the streets. That's the easy narrative.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The easy, like, voting for the underdog type thing. That's the best, easiest narrative. So there's gonna be a lot of negative stories that are attached to that. So yeah, they definitely it was done purposely. It was obvious then. It was just that that wasn't a popular narrative at the time. So I was always being told I was being a conspiracy theorist.
Jaz, I'm pretty sure you heard that shit a lot in your life, bro.
Yes.
So, being that you had a lot of hip hop history behind you, and you still do as you listen to the music. So let me fast forward up to, like, say, the late 90s, early 2000s. Whatever gangster rap we was getting that, the record label started eating up, and we saw people like, you know, NWA, Ice-T, Ice Cube, a lot of West Coast rappers like profit off of that. We start seeing this influx of record labels going out there trying to get more, you know, sensationalized, over the top, shock value rappers. I think gangster rap went to a whole nother level. I was too young to kind of understand it then, but I could kind of look back on it now and say, oh, they were just doing it just to sell records. It wasn't even about like the legitimacy of the artists themselves. It's like, if you could tell the story good and it sounds great and we could sell it, keep it going, whatever like that. But at some point in time, you would probably agree too, that you kind of lose the essence of what the hell you started in this thing for to begin with. And now you kind of being disingenuous to your listener, right? You just kind of like, you just giving them all the bad food. I know it's going to get you fat. You're going to get diabetes and all other good shit like that, but it tastes good, don't it? Whatever like that. So look at my era, right? When I'm going through middle school, high school, things of that nature, you got like Dipset, you know, G-Unit, a lot of people that talked about, you know, street life, violence in the street, drug use, a lot of misogynist lyrics, you know, coming off the Too Short hype or whatever. Did it ever not occur to you? Did it ever get to a point for you as a hip hop fan and a rap fan where did the music ever get to a point where you was like, this ain't good, I don't like this?
Yeah, of course. But I mean, at the beginning, okay, my initial, speaking to exactly what you're talking about, my initial thing was, because I didn't know how to articulate it at the time initially, I was like, I don't like the direction where this is going. You know what I'm saying? But then it took me a while, maybe, like a year or two, take a step back and realize, kind of circling back to what I was saying originally, what I realized it wasn't as much balanced. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then it started feeling like it was an agenda. It started feeling like, it's definitely an agenda going on, because it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like, I don't want to hear the NWAs. I don't want to hear, it's not that I don't even want to hear, like you said, or G-Unit, or the Dog Pound, or, like, you know what I mean? Or Bone Thugs and Harmony. You know what I'm saying? Like, Thugs is in their name. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like I didn't want to hear none of that. I just felt like, yo, we're just getting a steady diet of just one thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? That was my issue. I realized that was the issue. It wasn't like I don't want to hear NWA. I don't want to hear Dipset or G-Unit. I mean, some of my favorite songs come from them damn groups, from them cliques.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? But you can't, and it wasn't even me. I felt like at that age, I was able to decipher that this is just entertainment, and I'm not going to try to, I'm not trying to mimic this lifestyle. But what I also realized was, like, the accessibility of, like, DVDs, bootlegs, tapes, videos. People were doing straight to video movies. I'm like, we have 8-year-old kids watching or listening to this music, and they don't have, unless somebody's there to, like, guide them and teach them how to listen to it, they're getting a straight diet of just that type of music
with no variety. Yeah,
exactly. To balance it out. I mean, whether they like it or not. I mean, whether you like the De La Souls or the, you know what I'm saying, or the Tribe Called Quest or El Cool J song that was a radio song, like, Around the Way Girl type song. Even if you said that's not for me, as long as you knew that it was an option, made you a more well-rounded person. You see what I'm saying? Because if you went to a party, you knew you were gonna have to, like, I know I'm gonna have to listen to a Bonita Applebum remix. I'm gonna have to listen to, We Got the Jazz joint, somewhere along the way. It's gonna balance you out. Yeah. Not a pure diet of just like gun, kill, bitches, hoes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So at one point it's just like, yo, man, this is an agenda. It's definitely an agenda.
Yeah. The thing I hate about it the most was the fact that it became so cookie cutter that you just really just start seeing the same rapper over again, just repackaged as a different name, a different character, a different caricature. And it was like me growing up loving lyrics. Like I said, I went to great depths just to even read lyrics if I couldn't listen to it or whatever like that. What I hated the most was I started to aspire to be a rapper. Like I wanted to be a rapper. I wanted to be a lyricist. I wanted to be an MC. And so, like, I didn't have an example. Like, if I wanted to, like, go against somebody if I wanted to use somebody as a template to say I could sharpen my game or I'm aspire to be like him or be better than him or her, it was sort of like, I'm listening to the same dude. You know what I mean? What, I want to be like 50 Cent? I'm either going to be rapping like 50 Cent, Cameron, or Snoop Dogg or something like that. And it was kind of like, it ain't feel right. But being that I had my mind of my own, I was able to kind of take that and be like, you know, I'm going to be my own independent type of artist. I'm going to have my own style and then just take off. Like, let me go listen to old De La Soul, old Tribe albums, old KRS-One, stuff like that. But the average consumer is not going to do that. They're going to take whatever get played on the radio or whatever pop up on that soundtrack at the end of that movie and stuff like that and just take that for face value. I think that's a real dangerous game, which leads to the meat and the potatoes of the conversation I wanted to have with you.
Okay.
Some point in time, well, it ain't at some point in time, around the time that Nipsey Hussle had died, and we saw the footage, unfortunately, of him passing and getting shot. Yo, Jazz, I lost all appetite for like any music that was going to be like destructive or promote destruction of the community. I can't take it no more, yo. And I kind of feel like I'm still on that right now. Every once in a while, I go back and listen to like old stuff just because it's in my DNA now. But like whenever I hear like a new rapper, I don't care how nice they is, I'm always listening with like a level like, okay, all right, dude, what you got? You got the same shit that we've been hearing for the last 10 years or whatever like that. Like if you ain't on like some kind of like different type of consciousness or at least could think for yourself, I can't listen to it no more. I don't know if you feel the same way or you saw like a little bit of a shift around the time Nipsey died, but I kind of felt that way. And I kind of saw some artists kind of emerge that came with like a different type of message than what we previously got. How you feel about that?
No, you're right. Again, it feels like agenda. I feel the same way. I mean, I didn't go as hard as you did. You made a real cold, calculated decision. Like, yo, I'm not gonna. I didn't go as hard, but I mimic your sentiment on it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt, you know, everything felt like directly, purposely done. Like, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of it has to do with technology. A lot of it has to do with, like I'm saying, like a whole generation just fed the same diet over and over again. That's all they really know. A lot of it has to do with the access to making it easier to create a record, create a song, and putting it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, people don't have to get signed by a label. They ain't gotta have an A&R. They don't have to go back and forth and you know, like you said, like go against somebody. Like, yo, let me let my friend to this song real quick, and you know they can critique it. Like, yo, you need to do this better. The beat could be better. You know what I'm saying? People ain't battling no more, going back and forth. You just like when you hear somebody else and go, damn, I'm nice, but yo, like this dude or this girl got something special. I gotta step my game up, not to mimic them, but just realize I gotta step my pen game up. I gotta do whatever. I think all that plus what you're saying, all of it contributes to where we are right now, which is a lot of the same thing. I mean, I don't want to jump the gun in this interview, but when you said earlier, like, yo, and everybody wasn't like, me and you have this in common, like, yeah, we want to listen to, I like the song altogether as a totality, but I'm a lyric dude too. I'm like, I want to listen to lyrics, how they present it, how they flip words, the metaphors, flows, right in the beat. But you know what I'm saying? Like you said, like, what's the message? Now we're in an era more of just feel, which leans towards like the words don't have to really make sense. The lyrics don't pleasing. That's it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why you have to, and I don't even like to use the word mumble rap, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why you can get away with something like mumble rap, because you can mumble or have words that really don't rhyme all the time, or you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like one syllable, two syllable words. That much thought, because it's more, I think we're in a more of a feel place right now. Like, it just feels good. And as long as he has a certain cadence And that's another thing too. Like to me, a lot of these beats sound similar and they can't sound similar. If something works, that's the automatic formula. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's
you
a
sing
formula.
song.
Yeah, it's a formula.
Yeah, you sing song. You got to sing song. You rap style. Then you can make this type of beat. Oh, you good. You good. I mean, I know I sound like the old man. I'm just like, I'm speaking to my kids, and I'm like, oh, that I kind of like, I kind of feel the vibe of this song. That's Baby, and they're like, oh, that's Little Baby. Well, that's just, and I'm like, yo, I really can't differentiate. And I know part of it is me paying less attention to what's going on, but part of it is also, a lot of these dudes in these songs sound very similar. They're not going out of their way to like differentiate themselves from the next artist. Then, like, it's a dangerous path.
Yeah, I hate that.
It's a dangerous path. I mean, I know a lot of people like, yo, get their money. Like, it's not even about the money part. I want to see everybody get paid. But you know what I mean? But I also want to, I'm like, this is an art form first. It's not a business first. It's an art form first.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and if we want this art form to survive, it can't be the same thing over and over and over and over and over again.
So stick with that right there. So that leads perfectly into the next question. Back when you said in the early stages of hip hop, very hard to access. It was like kind of an in the know, in the streets type of thing. Now it's everywhere. It's on the TV shows, it's in the movies, it's in the commercials, it's everywhere. In your opinion, do you feel like rappers either have a responsibility or should take more responsibility to be better role models? Or is that something that just falls strictly on parenting and, upbringing?
No. Damn. This is the conversation I have all the time. Here's the thing. I mean, you gotta say this delicately. You say when someone says, okay, you are a role model, I think some people take it as like we have to walk this fine line of always being a good person and don't have any flaws, and that's not necessarily true. What on the receiving end of what a role model is, like being a role model citizen is different from being a role model when someone says you're a role model, and which means people who are younger than you or your peers are looking at you and they're watching everything you do, and a lot of these people are going to mimic you, the good and the bad. So me defining it that way, you by definition are a role model. That does not mean that that you can't live your life and you're not allowed to make any mistakes, and or you're not going to do anything negative. But one thing that you said was important is I do think that a lot of these people, and that's not even just limited to hip hop artists. I mean, whether it's athletes, whether it's actors, whether what I'm saying, whether it's singers, R&B singers, you have to take a more accountability for the influence that you have. You have to be mindful that the stuff that you do, and I have to tie in the technology. You have to tie in and even the radio stations. I'm gonna go back to that. I'm gonna circle back to that. Even the radio stations, you have to be held accountable for the things that you put out there, the things that you say, the things that you put on IG, Twitter, what I'm saying, Facebook, whatever, videos you do stuff. Like, yeah, you should be able to do adult content, but you also have to realize, like, damn, should I be out here half naked in a video, knowing that a 5-year-old kid has access to an iPhone? Like you should be able to consider that. Again, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it, but you should, like when they were playing, let's bring it to the 90s. They were like regular versions of songs. Like there was an LP version of a song, and then there was a radio edit of the song. Meaning, they either changed the words of the curse word,
or they censored it out completely,
or they beeped it, or they reversed it. So you know what I'm saying? So little kid would just be like, "Oh, I don't know what they're saying," or they instead of saying "fuck," the F word. You know what I'm saying? They just say fluff. To the little kids, it's not. If you don't know, you just don't know. Like I remember like almost 20 years ago, where it was like it's happened before Chris Brown, but I remember distinctly because both of my kids were like heavily in Chris Brown when he first came out, and they played like a song, a regular song off the album, they just basically just blanked it. But I'm just like, they, you know, like you can fill in the blank. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, whatever happened to the radio edit? Well, you just, you know, like you do the same song, but you just let me change this word. Let me just edit this whole verse out. Let me do that. We haven't done that. It's a slippery slope. So going back to it is like, yeah, I think they should be more thoughtful about how they go about it. Like you don't have to not make a nasty song or sexual song or stuff like that. But whatever happened, we have FCC rules. They claim to have SEC rules, but then you got songs where it's like they barely bleep the song out or blank the song out. Where I'm like, I know what's being said.
Even on TV too.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, what happened to the radio edit? Yeah. What happened? You know what I'm saying? Like, at least there was a time where you can be like, I'm not gonna get you that version, but I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you the radio edit of Voice and Babble of Devoe instead of saying Big Button Smile. They said something different or they blanked it out. As a parent, you had the option. Now, again, I know that's easier said than done. We're past that in the technological state because, you know, if you have access to a phone or access to a computer, they can easily just go, I mean, forget that part. I'm just going to go straight to YouTube and just listen to the version I want. But it's not even an option anymore. And I think it's because people feel like I don't have to be more responsible or held accountable for the artwork that I'm putting out. You know what I'm saying?
You took what I was about to say. That's the word I feel like is more important. Responsibility, not necessarily being a role model. Because, I mean, I'm pretty sure you being a father, you would never tell your kids to look at a rapper, artist, singer, musician and be like, you should idolize that person or you should use them as a template, unless they plan on doing it as a career or something like that. But the role model should be the parent as far as we can tell. But responsibility, being at now in the culture of hip hop now and rap culture now, a lot of it is so much social media. It's your YouTube channel, it's your Instagram page, it's your Twitter feed, things of that nature. I feel like artists nowadays, you can put out whatever music you want to a certain extent of something being crazy, but I feel like artists should have a responsibility to provide balance off the record. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Talk about more stuff that's in a positive light to balance out the negative stuff that you're talking about on the record. You get what I mean? Like, I see so many artists nowadays, rappers, that don't support like black businesses or talk about mental health or going to see a therapist or talking about, you know, financial empowerment. It's just they give you the snippet or they drop the surprise album on a Friday with, you know, it's no radio cut like you said. Everything's explicit and they just leave it there and that's that. And then next time you see them on Instagram or something like that, it's an Instagram story in a strip club throwing ones or whatever like that. And it's sort of like, it's like, damn, you're not really not giving anybody who's listening who might be impressionable, that's young, that may be like, you know what? Damn, that's what I aspire to be, because that's the way to get to the bag right there. That part I don't like.
Yeah, and you know what? That's exactly the same place I'm at. And here's the thing about it. I can't speak for all these artists. I don't know none of these artists personally. But I do know that some of these artists, you know, like, we know those that they're R&B, hip hop, those are personas. And you have, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have a mom, you have a mom, a wife, a father, you know what I'm saying? A grandmother, a grandfather. And I know that you're not that character to them. You know what I'm saying? I know majority of these people who are artists are calling somebody, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. You know what I'm saying? They're not talking to their little sons and daughters like that. That, you know what I'm saying? Some of them are going to therapy for regardless of what type of therapy. Whether it's mental therapy, whether it's I'm going to rehab for alcohol or opioids or whatever like that. Like, be more transparent. Show that you're being a human. Like, if we're not going to get the radio, edit, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's foregone. That's in the past. I know we're not going to get that back anymore. I mean, I would love that, but I know we're not going to get that. But if you were to show your humanity, you know what I'm saying? If you would show more of who you really are, I think that would be partially taking accountability and responsibility for who you are. Because these, even your peers who are the same age as you, like 25, 26, 27 years old, if they did see like, yo, you know what I'm saying? He did say he was in a strip club throwing once. Everybody can't do that because they be throwing their whole paycheck away. But then you also, even if you don't get personal about why you're in therapy, if you just was like, yo, like you said, if you just tweeted, yo, I just came from my therapist, you ain't even gotta say, go to therapy and wave a flag for going to therapy. But even if you just casually just said, yo, I just came back from my therapist and they said something deep to me, that's enough. That's enough for you to be like, yo, this dude goes to therapy. He admitted it. It would open the door for people to be more, see them as a 3-dimensional human, as opposed to he's somebody that's balls out and goes to the strip club and makes it rain, or he's the person that's always constantly in the street. You know what I'm saying, busting his gun or getting his money, or you know what I'm saying. And again, ain't nothing wrong with that. But if you gonna do that, then say all the other stuff. Where's the song about you being mad at your girlfriend or your wife for telling you to take out the garbage? You didn't want to do it. That's being real.
Everybody want to talk about being real. Vulnerability is real. Like, to your point.
Exactly. So you know what I'm saying? Like, where's the yo? I'm frustrated at my girlfriend. I'm frustrated at my at this. I'm mad at my manager. I'm mad at my label. I'm mad. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a dog and I miss my dog. The death of my dog is really getting to me. Like, if you, and I'm not saying that they necessarily have to speak about that, but show a little bit of diversity and a little bit of yourself to make yourself be a more 3-dimensional person. You don't even got to go into depth. Just mentioning it. People will, you know what I mean? Like, the person that receives it will be like, yo, it would normalize you. It would normalize. It would. Well, like you said, it would balance you out as a human being. The optics of you being a human being instead of being this 1-dimensional caricature.
Oh, we got an optics line in the show. We love to see it, man. We love to see it. Where you at with your fandom right now, as far as your level of fandom when it comes to rap? Right now, I feel like this generation, if you want to like put a summary, we see a lot of twerk music. A lot of rappers been talking about pill popping. We kind of saw the emergence and surgence of like Griselda Records, which is kind of like this return to this gutter, gritty, street type talking. We get a lot of surprise albums. We get a lot of people dropping very, very short albums to kind of match the consumer's attention span. Where you at with your fandom right now?
As far as like groups?
No, I'm talking about your state of the game address. How do you feel? Like, back in the day, Nas dropped the album that said hip hop is dead. It's done. How do you feel about hip hop? How do you feel about rap culture right now, 2021? Is it hard to listen to? Is it, you find it hard to find good music? What?
I simply put, I don't listen to the radio no more. You know what I'm saying? I don't like what they're putting out on the radio for consumption is definitely not for me. Partially that's because I just don't like you said, like the pill popping and the it's not even to be honest, I'm not even really stuck on the lyrics. I'm like I gave that up. To me, it's just too similar. So I mean, I still see us where we are right now. Listening to the radio is not the only option. I think a lot of it. I can answer this in a whole bunch of ways. Specific. I mean, I'm always gonna love hip hop. That's the thing, and I feel like if you look, you can find. There's no excuse for somebody to say, "Yeah, I just gave up on hip hop, and the hip hop I like anymore is not here. It doesn't exist anymore." No, it exists. You just got to find it. It's definitely out there. So I don't want to hear that excuse. I mean, I had to learn that too. My problem is more like the ready, easily accessible music at this time, which obviously they're not aiming it towards me. I know that, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like it's just too 1-dimensional for me to be like, yeah, that's my joint. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't do it. I mean, I try to listen to it only because I still do love hip hop, and I can't make a critique of it if I don't listen to it. I'll be a hypocrite saying, "Yo, I don't like this. I don't like this new hip hop." And then they go, "Well, name an artist," and I go, "Yeah, I don't know none of them." You know what I mean? And I'm lying. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so I try to listen to the radio. I skim it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, let me see, or I go through the list of like Billboard or whatever, and like look at the names, and like these names look familiar, and but I still have love for it. I mean, I'm basically in the same place that I was. This is the saddest part. I'm in the same place I was 25 years ago, which is like, because I saw where it was going. The thing about it is I saw where it was going. Is like, I just wish it was just a little bit more diverse. I'm not saying that these new rappers have to do what you do. You know what I mean? I'm not asking these new rappers to rap like how Rakim rap. That's not even what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I just need these artists to differentiate yourself from the next artist. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I shouldn't have to listen to a song and hear another song that sounds so much similar. Like, it's just like right now, Pop Smoke. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like the reason why I liked him is because, or still like his music, is because what he did was different. Like he did his like a New York version of drill music, and what's the music? Well, yeah, it's drill music because the drill music actually is borrowed from the London music. It's basically so he took he made his own version of New York, Brooklyn drill music, which was
grime, drill grime,
grime music, grime. At the time when I first heard of him, and plus he has a unique voice, I was like, okay, that's different. Like, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't in love with it, but I was like, yeah, that's different. And then the more I listened to it, I started listening to his album. I got kids of age, 20, 24, 20, 20 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, the more I listened to it, I found some songs. I'm just like, yo, there's 3 or 4 joints on here that I like. I'm not in love with it, but I was just like, at least it's different. My problem is now I'm listening to the radio. I was listening to the radio and I was like, yo, this song's going in. I ain't never heard this Pop Smoke song. And my son was like, that's not Pop Smoke. It's this dude that sounds just like him. And that's my issue with it. That's what I'm saying. And again, let me be clear. Back in the day, there was a whole bunch of people that was imitating other people. Don't get it wrong. I don't want you youngins who think like, oh, he's bashing us and all this other stuff. Trust, for every Big Daddy Kane, there was like 4 record labels that was like, yo, we need the next Big Daddy Kane. You need to get a high top fade, and you just start using 5% lingo and talking rhyming real slow. And then when Rakim came out, we need another dude that has a gold chick. Like, don't get it twisted. There was dudes that was like imitating or heavily borrowing whatever was popular at the time. Like, oh, Rakim is dope. Oh, I'm gonna come up with a, I'm gonna have a name that sounds like Rakim. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, as consumers, we would give you the crooked eye. You know what I'm saying? Like, there might have been a group of people that was like, well, I ain't got no problem with the dude that sounds like Big Daddy Kane. I ain't have a problem with the dude that sounds like, you know what I'm saying, Eminem. I ain't got a problem with the dude that sounds like whatever. But somebody who was more down with as a quote unquote true hip hop person would always like, I'm gonna listen to you, but I'm giving, I'm raising my eyebrows. I'm looking at you like, bro, how original is this? Now, some people got away with it, but that was far in between. But I'm saying this to say that it's not like it never happened. The mimicking thing and the copycat thing, that always existed.
The president has been set. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? But even back in the day, like, they had the Fat Boys. So then there was a group. They was from Brooklyn, and then there was a group of kids called the Skinny Boys. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of like they didn't copy them, but it was kind of like, well, this is our take. Skinny Boys didn't really pop off, and their songs were actually pretty dope. But I think what hurt them was the fact that they were called the Skinny Boys because they was already the Fat Boys.
You know what I'm saying? Stark contrast, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? There was Salt and Pepper, and then there was like Finesse and Sinquist. Then there was a whole bunch of people, two girl groups. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was Thick and Thin, and then Salt and Pepper, and then Finesse and Sinquist. And you know what I'm saying? It was like those other groups, they might have had one or two songs that popped, and they might have went on tour real quick. But I think partially why they didn't pop off is because they were too similar to, then those are just fake Salt and Peppers. That's just fake Kid and Play. You see what I'm saying? I think we had a little bit less tolerance for, there was a rule like just no biting.
No biting.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's biting. That's like a bylaw. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it happened, but you know what I'm saying? Like, but it was not to say that it never happened, but you know what I'm saying? But like, you know, like you had to like.
It was always a risk of you being exposed as a fraud. It's like
exactly.
Now it's sort of like, it's like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do to get in. I hate that.
It's basically like, yo, like that's the way to do it. I don't understand why you so upset about it. Like, that's the formula that works. We're gonna just follow that formula. And it's like, really? Like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, there's rules to this game. And you know what I'm saying? I feel like as the generations get, you know, younger and younger, it's just like, and that's not even with hip hop. It's just in general. Like, there are no rules. There's no codes. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like we could do whatever we want. I don't understand why you mad at that.
Let me get your opinion on this. I was listening to an old Jay-Z interview. It wasn't that old, a couple years ago. And they was talking about he was talking about comparing himself to Drake. And as far as like the height of their superstardom or whatever.
Okay.
Like that. And I think I'm paraphrasing because I don't want to misquote the man, but he was saying something like along the lines of he has a longer streak of being hot, but my white hot, like my hottest, he hasn't yet to touch that. He hasn't got to the point where I was, you know, like was that Hard Knock Life tour? No, yeah. What's the tour when they had everybody? They did the backstage movie off of it, so like that. Was that the Hard Knock Life tour? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it was a Hard Knock Life tour. Yeah,
but we know, like, you know, late '90s. I mean, excuse me, like the 2000s. Jay-Z ran that. His level of superstardom was like unmatched. And we saw superstars in hip hop before. Like, you talk about LL Cool J all the time. Like, people used to always say he was on some Lover Boy stuff and he made like all this soft music. But you always been telling people like how dope of a MC that LL Cool J could be. But we had like LL Cool J's. I think of Snoop Dogg, Jay-Z, 50 Cent. Like, them guys that's like the superstar, the top 1 or 2 or 3 MCs. They always was like front and center for consumption, household names. Got it. How do you feel about the guys now? Obviously, we got Drake at the top. Household name, superstar, can't deny it, whether or not you feel some type of way about his skills or his legitimacy, whatever like that. But I'm more concerned about your opinion about the other two guys, J. Cole and Kendrick. How do you feel about the fact that they so dope, man? And you know I love Kendrick. And I love J. Cole too. But they so obscure too. It's like they'll drop something and they'll be out of there. They don't do too many interviews. They don't let you get too much of a peek into their personal life outside of the music. Do you feel like they kind of doing a disservice by not being more front and center with their stardom, quote unquote, air quotes?
Ooh, that's a good ass question. I ain't see that the way you presented it that way. I do think that they're doing a disservice for us as a consumer. I think them being secluded, they doing it for themselves. I think it's for their own mental stability and mental health. You see what I'm saying? I think they're doing it for their own best interest. I think they might be doing it for different reasons. I think with Kendrick, like Kendrick is kind of like, there was a time when Kendrick was just hitting us, and then he fell back for a little bit. I think he's kind of, first of all, Kendrick's discography is retarded, and I have to give you credit. You know what? I have to give y'all credit when we did and this is not trying to toot my own home, but we was doing the Rhythm and Rebel show. And I was late to I have to admit, I was late to the game on the Kendrick thing, man. Mm-hmm. And like my son was telling me Kendrick is nice, and Kendrick was nice, and I was taking it with a grain of salt. It was the swimming pool song, I think. And I asked y'all opinion. I was like, what y'all think about? And all three of y'all okay, Ray, you and New Money
Yep.
was like, what? Really dope. But anyway, yeah, I was, you know what I'm saying? And you told me personally, you was like, Jaz, I really need you to go back and listen to the album. As a matter of fact, go back to the album before that album. And I was like, I didn't even know he had an album before that. That's how I felt so bad, because I likened myself to being up on shit, and I wasn't up on that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I have to give you credit. Well, credit is due.
Thank you.
And then I felt, I was like, damn, they were right. Justin was right.
Yeah.
But you know what I think? I definitely Kendrick, and both of them, J. Cole too. They kind of J. Cole said it in the song, like he's kind of in the middle. He had an older brother, and Kenny had access to older people, so they have the aesthetic of the older dudes, and they kind of carry themselves. They follow the code of the old hip hop guard, but they also have their own generation, and then there's this new generation. So they're right in the middle. So I think that they both feel, and I can't speak for them, even though I've heard J. Cole speak on this, and he also had a song about it. It's like they know the old school rules, but those rules don't apply anymore. So I think they kind of feel like they're in no man's land a little bit.
That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying?
Good point.
So
that's a good point.
Yeah, so that's what I think, so they understand the old rules, and they stick by the old rules. Obviously, the no biting, the no ghost writing. You know what I'm saying? Like all those rules, they're like, yeah, nah, we don't do that. You know what I mean? I was raised by a different caliber.
And they speak on it.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of why they kind of like fall back. They keep themselves scarce a little bit. Partially that, and I think partially they kind of don't want to be oversaturated. Because, you know what I mean, like the newer generation is kind of like, I've heard it out of their mouth. It's like, yeah, I like the J. Cole stuff and the Kendrick stuff, but the funny thing about it is they consider J. Cole and Kendrick like deep artists. They're just like, yo, they're deep, and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Like being lyrical is not the same as deep. Like, yeah, they're a lot more lyrical than what y'all accustomed to, but that doesn't equate deepness. But
I guess I'll respond to that by saying I would take one of your lines when you say it's kind of all relative, right? I mean, they're deep in comparison to their peers.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes, true. Facts.
Yeah. So let me ask this question. Misogyny is as an American as apple pie. It's been that way since the beginning of time. And it's been that way in hip hop and rap culture too. Talking about women in a negative light, whether or not some women deserved it or not, based on their lifestyle. But what do you think about the femc today? A lot of ass shaking, a lot of booty popping. As far as I'm concerned, you really can't even make a splash on a scene if you ain't got a fat ass. As far as I can tell, you could be nice as all hell, but if you ain't got the figure to back it up, they don't want to hear from you because your Instagram ain't gonna be popping or whatever like that. How do you feel about the femc now? Me personally, I find it hard to listen to. Majority of any new artist, you got to come with a referral for me to listen to you.
He said a referral.
I'm serious. You got to be like, yo, Ab-Soul, he tight. I'm like, all right, let me hear from somebody else. And Jazz told me Ab-Soul tight too, so all right, I'm gonna listen to him. Or you be like, Isaiah Rashad is tight. I'll be like, all right, I'll check it out. But like anybody that, like the radio station tell me or hip hop website tell me, like, oh, you got to check out the hottest songs of 2021 so far. I'm like, man, get that list out of my face. I ain't trying to listen to that. That's trash. But anyway, female MCs, obviously the ones that dominate, the Megan Thee Stallions. Nicki Minaj is not as white hot as she used to be, but Nicki Minaj, you got Cardi B, Doja Cat, etc., etc., etc. But it seemed like since we've since lost the Queen Latifahs, the Lauryn Hills, the MC Lights, it's really only like one name that really remains, and that's Rhapsody. To me, one of the best MCs I've ever heard in my life is Rhapsody. But she will never be like superstar.
There's another MC. There's another female MC, Sarah. I want to shout her out.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think she's originally from DC. But she's in Atlanta right now. And there's somebody else in California. I can't think of the top of my head. There's another girl from Chicago too. There's a couple people out there, but they, like you said, the thing
No
is,
Name. Yeah, she's dope too.
No Name. There you go. No Name. That's the thing, though.
What do you feel about them using their assets, also with the talent, but more so the assets, most likely?
I feel like the best thing about it, you just said it. If it was just to knock the door open, I still wouldn't like it, but I'd be like, okay, I get it. But I feel like they have to lean on it. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, how more erotic and exotic and how much nakedness how much push the limit
how much you get away with?
Overtly showing sexuality can we get away with? You know what I'm saying? And again, these little kids watching. You see what I'm saying? Like, you have little kids. You're normalizing a sexuality to little girls and boys too, that they can't even fully understand what's going on. And for you to only
of it. Yeah.
Again, you know what I'm saying? Like, even with Little Kim back then when she came out, and don't get it twisted, Little Kim was doing what they're doing first. Like, she came out with the bikini, she had the poster with the squatting down, but
yes, Lord.
Her videos weren't like that. Her videos was like her in the mall going up and down the escalator. You see what I'm saying? Like, she showed flashes of it. She might have went to an award show with, you know what I'm saying, what you called over her nipple. I forgot the name of it, but the little thing going over her nipple and stuff like that. But she wasn't the only one doing it. The other actors and actresses and celebrities were doing that too. And we can debate, go back and forth of whether that's cool or not to do, or they should not do that. But Little Kim, even though the name of her album was called Hardcore, and they were sexual explicit songs on all her albums, but her whole album wasn't sexually explicit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the whole album wasn't that. She wasn't on sexually being a vixen 24/7.
Right.
She, you know what I'm saying? She wasn't a 24. Like, yes, did it help for the visuals to pop off? And we was just like, yo, you see that Little Kim video? But you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't constantly. I was beyond you. Like, once I saw that poster and I listened to her album, I was more like, yo, her flow is dope. Yeah. It's dope that she's Junior Mafia. You know what I'm saying? I mean, whether she was assisted with the rhyming and all the other stuff, yeah, we can go back and forth and debate that. But her flow was nice. Her album was a diverse album. You know what I'm saying? Like, she had the side chick song, the song that she did a little bit of dirt, the nasty song, the song about just me and my girls just partying. It was a diversity even with Little Kim. And Little Kim, like I said, was damn near the originator of the Nicki Minaj's, the Megan Stallion, Cardi B. She is the originator of that. She is the blueprint.
Just without the plastic. Yep, that's it.
Yeah, she's the blueprint of all that. You know what I'm saying? And again, it goes back to it was a diversity to what was going on in her videos. I think she might have had. I might be lying. If I'm lying, somebody correct me, whatever. But if I'm mistaken, I think she might have had like one sort of explicit video, and that video was like a hard to get video that only came on BET Uncut.
Yeah. I think it was like How Many Licks or something. Like, it was like featuring like Blackstreet or something like that. Yeah, and that was like her only like raunchy video for the most part. Anything like that, you probably see it like in a Mobb Deep video, just rapping regular or whatever, riding in the back of a car or something like that. It was all, she kept it. You could tell like her primary focus was the craft, and she used sexuality as a way to accent that. It wasn't that she was using that in the inverse, like, oh, I'm just about to leave with all tits and ass. And
yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I can just happen to rap or whatever like that. Yeah. But let me tell you, that's a good example with Lil' Kim. To me, in my personal opinion, Nicki Minaj really dropped the ball, yo. At some point in time, when she got into the game, she signed her deal. Everybody could see, like, damn, she fine. She got a nice body. She's pretty, or whatever like that. But at some point in time in her career, cats really start changing the conversation. Like, yo, Nicki could rap, yo. Nicki could actually spit.
She could.
And she did not run with that, though. I don't know if it had something to do with her and her man Safari or whatever like that. But at some point in time, she totally could have took what she had built and built upon it and start going in a whole nother direction, and we can start talking about, yo, she might be one of the best female MCs of all time. Just staying in the fucking lane.
Son, you are not lying, bro. I went from being basically almost how you said it. I went from being like, I remember when she first started out, when she was basically a tomboy. See, I don't know if people remember that, when she's doing the tomboy look.
Old DVDs,
yeah. When she was down with the Brick Squad, when she was down with Gucci, she was down with Gucci. People,
Gucci
I don't know
artists.
I don't know if people know all that. She was down with Gucci and my other man, the other dude, Waka Flocka, and because Waka Flocka's mom was her manager. Yeah. So little history off for y'all young folks who didn't know that. I don't even know if y'all know who Waka Flocka is, but
there might be some people listening to this don't know who Nicki Minaj is, but go ahead.
That's funny. That's crazy. But you know what I'm saying, like you said, but exactly like you said, like at first she to your point and to the point that we're both making is like she used the vixen type of Barbie. She called it the Barbie thing. She used that to kind of get in the door.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, there was a point when she was going out of her way to be like, nah, I'm just as nice as Jay-Z. I'm just as nice as Drake. I'm just as nice as Wayne. She was going out of her way to be like, yo, I might not be better than them, but I'm in the room with them. I'm in the conversation. Yeah, I'm in this room with them. And she was.
Let me hop on this monster record with Kanye and Jay-Z and watch me do this right quick.
Yeah. It was kind of like, yo, like she's giving these dudes a run. She's giving, what I'm saying? Like she's in a fur little, coat and a bikini and some high heels, but she's spitting. And like you said, I think she got caught up in the image thing with honestly, I think she got caught up in the Barbie thing, which led her down to image instead of what you call it. I think it's also a conscious decision that she kind of made, which was kind of like, I think that she felt like her little Barbie followers didn't really care about her. Like me and you who like lyrics, we were like, yo, forget how she looks, she can spit. But right. I think the majority of her followers, she basically had like a little cult following. They were just worried about like what kind of wig she has on and what kind of design, And I think she was like, I'm gonna cater to them. But she could have done both. That's the key to Jay-Z. I use him as an example because he's a perfect example. Like he's not the only one, but he figured out a way to cater to all his audiences. He always had a perfect balance of I got a radio song, but then I'm gonna go on this mixtape or on this soundtrack and just be lyrical miracle dude. And then I'm also got the song where I'm talking to these street dudes. He always found a balance of like, I'm gonna be the flyest dude, the richest dude, the smartest dude, the dude that shows vulnerability of when I messed up.
Father now, billionaire.
Yeah,
I'm gonna talk about all that.
I'm going to show all assets. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to feed all my people. I'm going to feed the people who just look at me for, he just think I'm a fly dude. I'm going to feed the people who just think that I'm a drug dealer or street hustler. And I'm going to feed the people who just know that I'm a lyrical monster. He kept that balance. And Nicki could have done the same thing, but she didn't. And I think it was a bad decision because, to your point, she was nice. I mean, like you said, like right now she's kind of in hiatus. So I can't say she's nice now, but bruh.
I can say it. She's not nice, y'all. Go ahead.
But yeah, man, like, yo, she was nice. You know what I'm saying? Like, Rhapsody. You know what's funny? I had a conversation because being the old man of the job, they was like, Jazz, I wanted your opinion on what, like, what do you feel? And specifically what you said, like, why do you feel like Megan Thee Stallion and Nicki and the Rhapsody thing? And I was just like, I honestly believe it's conditioning. I think that we've been told, they've been telling the youth for so long that one is a youth-driven culture, which is false, and two is like when you tell somebody, look, your option of diet is either Starburst or Milky Way, and it's all sugar, and you know what I'm saying, and you're gonna end up being a diabetic, and you go, well, I'm just gonna pick my favorite out of these two bad choices. My favorite one is I like fruity more, so I'm gonna go with the fruit one.
Right.
And then you go, well, that's the best one. Like, you know what I'm saying? But okay, but let's healthy options. After a while, when you think those are your only two options, when someone says, yo, you can drink water, you can eat an apple. Right. You're gonna get a group of people that's gonna be like, apple, fuck an apple. I'm like, no, but the apple's gonna, clean you out. You know what I'm saying? It's, you take it off the trees. It's a lot more healthier. You know what I'm saying? You can lose your gut. You can, You drink more water, the diabetes can go down, the high blood pressure can go down. They're not gonna want to hear that because they've been fed a strong diet of these two options, which is not really an option. And I think that, it's not a knock on Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B, but you know what I'm saying? It's like when we got somebody like Rhapsody who's like she's being diverse as hell.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you listen to, she's dropping real albums. She's dropping albums where it's like she's being lyrical. She's being vulnerable, talking about liking dudes and chilling with and talking about gossip and having phone calls with her girlfriends and you know what I'm saying? And being in a relationship and the lack thereof and all the other. She's having a diverse album. And it took her a while to get to that point. But you know what I'm saying? Like, when we mention female MCs, it should and today, 2021, as we're in April, we should be saying Megan, Cardi, Rhapsody. Right. We should be saying it through and that would be showing the diversity. Even though we can say Megan and Cardi, are similar type of females. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that it's just like, oh, it's only Megan and Cardi. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be like a rapper's quote unquote a deep hip hop person to be like, oh, to even know who Rhapsody is. Because even when I mention her name, people are like, oh yeah, I forgot about Rhapsody.
Oh yeah, that's right. Rhapsody.
It shouldn't even be that.
Yeah.
Like whether she's your favorite female MC, I'm not even telling you that she should be your favorite, but when we
should be on the radar.
Yeah, it should be like, yeah, oh yeah, Rhapsody, you know what I'm saying? She got that one joint I like, but I don't really mess with her like that. I'm fine with that. But we're not even getting that.
Right. Yep.
And that's sad.
All right, Jazz, let's wrap this damn thing up. So let me ask this last question. As a dad, as a parent, how do you feel about the state of the game as far as like how you monitor? Did you ever get to the point where you had to monitor what your kids listen to based off what you was hearing on the radio or online and stuff like that? And well, you already answered the question in saying yes, but because of that, what kind of effect as a parent do you see lyrical content now having on kids? Do you notice anything that's going on in the culture that's sort of like, yeah, that's something that you could directly tie back into rap? Well, one thing I know, and one thing I feel, at least I say, is like the drug usage as far as like drinking lean and stuff like that. It's like, come on, dude. I couldn't even imagine myself growing up as a kid being on some shit like, yeah, we about to drink some lean or drink some codeine or something like that. Like, why we got to popularize stuff like that? Like that right there bothers the hell out of me. And half of these rappers, they don't even be using the stuff. They just be talking about it.
Yeah, you just said it. I mean, you answered the question. It's like the normalization of it. You know what I'm saying? Because again, they had, like, back in the day, everybody didn't have access to listening to certain music. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or even if they heard the reference, they didn't know what the reference meant. Like if we go backwards and someone said lean, a kid wouldn't even know what the lean reference meant. You know what I'm saying? They would just be like, oh, they said lean, but I don't know what that means. These kids now, at 8 years old, 9 years old, know what lean is. Even if it's just at the point of like, lean is something that will get me inebriated, high, or change my mental state. They at minimum know that. And they shouldn't. The normalization of all these extra, where and I'm saying we because I'm taking accountability too. We are giving access to a younger generation of kids too early. You know what I'm saying? For me to sit here and say like they should never hear that ever, that's unrealistic. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I was here. If you're not going to hear it in music, you're going to. If you go outside, you're going to hear conversations that you're not supposed to hear. Whether you understand it or whether you're going to go into depth about it or whatever is another conversation. But when you're bombarding these kids with it, and it becomes a normalization of like, well, that's just normal what to do. Yeah, that's a bad thing. We're headed in the wrong direction. We're definitely headed in the wrong direction when it comes to that. And again, I hate beating a dead horse, but I think a lot of it has to do with the lack of diversity of the options that we have, or the options that we think we have. It's definitely not a good thing. And yes, I tried my best to at least with my kids, like when I was in the car with them, a lot of times when we shared a lot of time was me taking them to football practice, baseball practice, violin, whatever the hell, extracurricular activities, picking them up from school, whatever. So, you know what I'm saying? We would listen to certain songs or whatever, but if it was a certain song I didn't want to listen to, you know what I mean? I always had access to my CD player. For those, I don't even know if y'all know what a CD player is, but a CD player where I could be able to plug up my iPod to the car, and like, you know what I mean, I'll purposely to balance out the stuff on the radio. I would purposely, like, I'm gonna have my kids listen to De La Soul or Tribe Called Quest, and I know when they were little, they used to be like, oh man, Dad's having us listening to this nonsense. But as they got older, now it's like, oh, I remember when Dad used to play that. Right, I was fully aware that you know, that was the goal. I didn't know it was going to work out that way, but that was definitely the goal. And they didn't like all of it, but you know what I'm saying, as long as I knew there was some diversity, and I had a way to, like, I can't give them this steady diet of just what's on the radio. You know what I'm saying? I try my best to balance it out. But, you know, even at the age they are right now, I do see the effects of what they're listening to now. Definitely has an effect. Like you said, it's a culture. It's a, you know what I mean, it has a direct effect on what they do and what they don't do, how they view life, how their outlook on life and what they think life should be is directly to the music and videos and movies and TV that they watch, the entertainment that they see and listen to. Yes, it's going to change. It's going to shape the lens that they look through. Also with me and their mother and grandparents, you know, influence. Hopefully, you know, it's a balance of how they look at life, and hopefully they can make wise decisions and how they look at stuff. Because I can't do it for them. All I could do is just like, this is how I see it.
Be a guide, yeah. Hip-hop ambassador, host of the Rhythm and Rebel show, and more importantly, my good friend. I love you, boy. Jaz, I appreciate the interview, man.
I love you, man.
Great talking to you, brother.
Always, man. You gotta, you know, when hopefully when you have some time, you can do my show.
Oh, I'm there.
You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get the crew back together, even not for permanent, but you know what I'm saying? Like every now and then we can get together and, you know, chop it up.
Yeah. Well, you know, for those who don't know, I left Rhythm in the Rebel show originally because the payroll department was having some problems with files receiving or whatever like that. I heard they got their stuff together, so I'll be back in the building. Just send me the invite, man. But okay, yeah, man, I appreciate the interview, man. I love you, bro.
No problem, man.
So that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. I had a great conversation with my good friend Jaz about hip-hop and how dear it is to us. So, I mean, it was a long interview, but, you know, me and him get to talking about music, man. It can go on for hours. That was probably like a small sample size, a normal conversation between me and him, but definitely shout out his show, The Rhythm and the Rebel Show. I used to be on that show. I'm still a part of the family, and I still want to be involved in the show. So make sure you go check that out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I believe it's still on Stitcher as well. Another great hip hop podcast that y'all need to go check out is called Put in Perspective. That's with my man B and Raimundo Telemundo. They talk about some real dope topics, man, and they give artists their flowers while they can still smell them. I think the last episode they did like an ode to Nas after his Grammy win for the King Disease album, which was incredible. It was a great show, fellas. Keep up the good work, and we looking forward to collaborating with y'all in the future. Just throw it out there. Mondo Matters and Put in Perspective. And also I want to shout out another podcast called Tears Over Beers, which is my homegirl Winona's podcast, where they break down albums and songs and beer. Great concept. It's a fun show. It's a funny show. It's a lot of personality on that show. So make sure you go check out those. And make sure you stay locked in on Mind On Matters. Appreciate you guys. Keep coming back. We got the week. The feedback has been incredible. Once again, if you got any feedback, show ideas, suggestions, things that improve things, hit me up on Instagram. Inbox is open for business at Mind On Matters. Or you can hit my personal Instagram account, which is rebel_J_optics. But that's it for this week. I'll see y'all next week. Y'all stay classy. Ubuntu.